Well, I'm not one to join a movement, but maybe I ought to take a stab at the hashtag walk away video. Who knows? Maybe I can encourage somebody else to face the slings and arrows and get the hell away from toxic progressives. And hey, it sure beats dancing next to a moving car or dumping ice water over my head. So let's get into it. My folks were Republicans, but not really political. I don't recall a single political discussion in our home when I was growing up. I vaguely remember that they voted for Goldwater and Nixon and Reagan, but they didn't put signs in the yard or bumper stickers on the station wagon. Any political ideas I picked up just seeped into me through the culture, mostly music, and they came from the left. Bob Dylan put some into me. John Lennon put some into me. Neil Young did too with his songs Ohio and Southern Man. And anyway, the natural state for a smart, rebellious kid is to adopt whatever his parents don't believe. I left home in 1973 and followed my older hippie cousin to Hawaii. I lived in a series of places, mostly communally. I picked up some more lefty ideas there, but it was a fairly benign, new agey type of thing. When I drifted back to California, it was the late 70s, early 80s, and I wanted to be a singer-songwriter. I got involved with drugs. I hung out with rock bands. I watched as cocaine took hold and Los Angeles descended into moral chaos. But I never really connected that to any debate about values. It's easy to just ignore politics, and that's what I did. I voted Democrat when I bothered to vote. But it wasn't because I'd really thought a lot about the issues. I had friends who'd gone to college and they were all Democrats. I figured they must know something I didn't know. Saturday Night Live mocked Reagan as a greedy warmonger, and who was I to question that? Jackson Browne said that nuclear energy was a threat to the planet, and that was good enough for me. Maybe he saw the China syndrome on the same day I did. There were a few places along the way where I started to suspect that I was aligned with the wrong people. One was the Clarence Thomas hearings. I watched that circus on TV and my BS meter went off hour after hour. I just knew that this was a witch hunt. The Democrats hated Clarence Thomas. It started to dawn on me that the Democrats thought they owned Black Americans. He was being punished for escaping the plantation. Feminism had completely taken over in California. I tiptoed around women like every other guy I knew. But when Clinton was exposed for taking advantage of an unpaid intern, something that feminists would have called rape if a Republican was involved, I saw that the Democrats' concern for women was as fake as their concern for African Americans. Bill Clinton got a total pass, and to this day, Monica Lewinsky is still being slut-shamed. It dawned on me gradually that the left was a group with no moral center, no values to hold on to. Their core philosophy seemed to be opposing conservatives and destroying anything that conservatives held to be sacred. Progressives were dedicated to dismantling the societal structures by which they themselves had been raised. And oh, how they could hate. I'm talking about the hard left here, not moderate liberals. They hated the Bible Belt. They hated big business. They hated the military. They hated our white male founders. They hated police. They hated the Constitution. They hated capitalism, even though many of them were trying to get rich and famous. The drugs finally got me, and I hit rock bottom. So I started painting houses. And now I saw firsthand what it was like to work for a living, really work. And now I began to meet a lot of conservative people because they owned the houses I painted. And none of them matched the description of conservatives that I'd formed in my mind. Most were fine people. So I lived in this disconnect, hearing how evil Republicans were, while seeing that most of them were good, honest people. And gradually, through thousands of hours of hard, sweaty work and becoming a husband and father, I developed a real appreciation for the no excuses, never give up people who built this country. And then suddenly, the internet. And a few years later, Facebook. My first several hundred Facebook friends were musicians, mostly singer-songwriters. And this was where I found out just how nasty they can be. The first real argument I had online was about abortion. This was my position at the time. Hey, I'm pro-choice, but if I did believe in my heart that life began at conception and thought that 1 million children a year were being casually killed, I would have to be against abortion. That would be my only moral choice. Oh my God, did the shit hit the fan. I had never experienced anything like the gang beating doled out to me on that day by people who never stop bragging about how compassionate they are. I was unfriended and blocked by a few dozen people for the crime of trying to understand the motivations of people I didn't even agree with. I started to poke around and look at the assumptions I'd always held from another angle. I found Thomas Sowell and Walter Williams and learned about the much better shape Black Americans had been in before the social engineers of the left saved them. They also taught me basic economics, and I started to really understand the virtues of capitalism. But old habits die hard. I was still on Team Blue in 2008. I voted for Barack Obama. I even performed in an Obama fundraiser deep in the Hollywood Hills. Talk about your limousine liberals. After Obama won and he accepted a Nobel Prize for nothing, I noticed how conflicted the man was about free enterprise. I watched him squander $800 billion of our money on a stimulus package that did virtually nothing. I saw him force through a healthcare law that I knew would slap the middle class. And what about that buggy $2 billion website made in Canada? I watched him stiff blue-collar Americans for the shovel-ready jobs he promised, and instead talk millions more kids into student loan debt and useless degrees. And I realized that he was just performing the role of first Black president for which he'd been groomed. At this point, I started stuffing clothes into a backpack and plotting my escape. I had cringed as my lefty friends fell like jackals on Sarah Palin and her family the very day they learned that she existed. I was sickened as Jon Stewart got rich by carefully editing videos to make Republicans look stupid or evil. In 2012, I did the research and realized that Mitt Romney was no more a vulture capitalist than liberal Saint Warren Buffett. They're in the same business. I learned that the rich, far from shirking their fair share, pay for virtually all of the social programs in this country, and everything else too. When I backed Romney, I came out of the closet as a brand new conservative. Trust me, in California, that's a lot tougher than coming out as gay. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It was all over for me on the left, and I got my hiking boots out from under the bed. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Dennis Prager's radio show in Los Angeles. I spent a lot of hours with a paintbrush in my hand and Dennis in my ears. He started out as a liberal Democrat, too. Eventually, the musical gigs all dried up, and one by one, I realized that, with a few notable and noble exceptions, my lefty friends had lost all use for me, other than as a chew toy at cocktail parties. And so I pulled on the boots, grabbed the backpack, and I walked the hell away. A few stressful years later, with the streets still full of hysterical people in vagina costumes, Jason Seiler and I formed Blue Collar Logic on Facebook and quickly amassed 11 million views and 80,000 follows for our common sense political videos. We take on all the things that drove me away from the left: the identity politics and victim Olympics, the determination to deny the basics of human nature, the fear-mongering, the virtue signaling, the manipulation of language to set traps and ruin people, the race baiting, the silencing of dissent. And since we're on the topic, due to organized harassment by radical feminists and Zuckerberg's sneaky reset of both algorithms and our viewers' own preferences, that channel is all but dead. And we've moved to YouTube. Let's hope we get a fair shake here. So, as you see, I had no choice but to leave the left. Is the right one big hug fest? Do we all gather beneath the sunset and sing patriotic songs like at the end of a Dinesh D'Souza movie? No. There's a lot of jerks over here too. But at the end of the day, conservatives are trying to hold on to the values that made us great and kept us free, trying to keep the individual as the basic unit of civilization. Progressives are trying to force us into a massive collective that they will control through the power of government. My choice was clear, and I'm still walking. If this rings any bells with you, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe to Blue Collar Logic on YouTube and keep in touch. The next few years will not be easy. It's important that we communicate with reasonable people like ourselves, including moderate liberals, that we try not to come off as angry and hostile. We need to become skilled at explaining why we walked away. And with a little luck and a little bit of providence, we might just get this great country back on track. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel and then click the little bell to get notifications. One of humanity's loveliest traits is that we think of the needs of others. With family and friends, I've always lived like a collectivist. If I come into a bit of money that I don't need when a friend is struggling, my first impulse is to share a little bit. The pleasure that gives me is greater than I could get by spending a little more money on myself. All of my closest friends do the same. And in small, close-knit groups, that's the natural way. We're delighted when our children begin to automatically share both resources and burdens. When we see them looking out for others, we know that we've done well as parents. But something happens when we send our kind, thoughtful kids off to college. As often as not, they return as angry socialists. They want to tear down the system of free enterprise that has afforded them every comfort, including their brand new education, to be replaced by some vaguely imagined socialist utopia. What happened is that somebody, a whole lot of somebodies, took our kids' well-nurtured sense of fairness and weaponized it. They found the vacant mental spaces that are supposed to be filled gradually by life experiences and jammed those databanks full of Marxist mythology. Do we expect our kids to doubt their cool professors? Why did we send them to college if we didn't expect them to learn from their teachers? Never mind that most of these teachers have never actually functioned outside the academy. They live by theories, and they work in a world where questioning these theories will stall their careers. Yes, it's come to that. College professors are now afraid not to affirm a leftist agenda. Never mind that Marxist ideology has killed 100 million people in the last 100 years. That inconvenient truth is not discussed much. A 19-year-old is as short of historical perspective as he is of life experience. But even worse, he's not even in possession of a fully organized brain. Until age 25 or so, he is logically impaired. An adult thinks with his rational mind, his prefrontal cortex. A teen thinks mainly with his emotional mind. These leftist professors hijack your kid's amygdala and make sure it's agitated. And a semi-hysteric activist comes home for the holidays. This is the perfect situation for postmodernists trying to program your child. And of course, young people desperately need the acceptance of a peer group, especially if they are far from home. So most of the change you see is really conformity. They're imitating their new friends. Still, socialist ideas do resonate with young people. Socialism is only a slightly more complicated version of childhood. They've only ever known a world where resources come from central government, mom and dad, to be shared equitably between the sibling citizens. Childhood rules were as much about love as responsibility. And at home, the crying person usually got the most attention. Ever wonder why leftists never let up on the victim stuff? So, how do you get past the radical group thinking and still an understanding of how only free market economics has ever really improved the lives of the poor? How can you convince them that capitalism, despite its excesses, is the best system for encouraging both hard work and creative, smart work? I'd start with the tried and true parables. Go with give a man a fish versus teach a man to fish. Explain how dependency is actually vulnerability and how self-reliance is a reliable source of personal power. Whatever you do, don't fight with your kids over this issue. They've been taught to challenge authority. Don't be authority. Be as neutral as you can be. Challenge them gently. Say, let's explore these ideas. Maybe walk them through stories from their own lives. Remind them how they felt when a kid cheated off their paper and got an unearned grade. Or how good it felt when they worked their butts off on a project and aced it. Remember, your kids are emotional creatures at this age. Appeal to their feelings. If they insist that capitalism is making the poor poorer, show them a few videos by statistician Hans Rosling. He has several very entertaining TED Talks that cover this topic. Once again, do not fight with them. You could lose them forever. And if your kids have not yet gone to college, don't send them right away. And don't send them backpacking in Europe either. Riding trains with beautiful Swedes while receiving checks from home is not setting them in the best direction. Let them spend their gap year working. Preferably, and I owe this idea to Dennis Prager, working for tips. This is a crash course in the unbreakable link between effort and reward, and just as important, the connection between attitude and reward. They will not fall so easily for Marxist claptrap after they've worked a few dozen lousy shifts for those slackers they work with. And while they are in the working world, have some conversations with them about how business works. Remind them that the rich pay for almost all of the giveaway programs that the demos promise. The government has no money of its own. That without big profit-based businesses, we live in a world without cars and cell phones and game consoles. So I wish you well. Remember that the kid lecturing you over the pot roast is still the person you taught him or her to be, and that life's hard lessons will soon enough displace all the nonsense he or she picked up at the university. In time, they will come back to Earth. Be there when they do. Feel free to tell us your stories in the comments section and share this video with anybody you think it might help.
Thanks for watching. Please consider becoming a supporting member of Blue Collar Logic. Look for the link in the comments section and give what you can.
You guys know what this meeting's about?
No idea.
How about you, Morning Breath Mike?
I have no idea.
Listen up, everyone. Sales are down across the board, but mostly we're failing to connect with a group called Millennials.
I saw this guy cry one time.
To learn more about our target demographic, we're all going to watch this instructional video.
News on the march. Millennials. Who are they? What do they want? A millennial can be defined as anyone born between 1982 and 2000, or anyone who thinks loving sriracha or Austin, Texas counts as a personality. Millennials crave things like instant gratification, authentic experiences, and for some reason we haven't figured out yet, improv comedy. Here's one millennial who has a parakeet with 9 million followers on Snapchat. Here's another who single-handedly started the hashtags that canceled 12 network TV shows she found offensive. And now I'm told she identifies as a man, so I'm being fired.
Hello, I'm your new announcer, and actually he was just about done. Thank you and good day.
So please welcome someone who's going to help us reach Millennials, our new head of social media, Hammer.
Oh, he just group texted us hello. And now here comes a text from the guy who doesn't know this is a group text. Nice to meet you, Hammer. Let's have lunch later and I'll tell you who's gay.
Right on. Sup, I'm Hammer. First, I'd like to not thank you for hiring me because I just expect good things to happen to me without working for them. Second, I'd like to give you all a list of my trigger warnings.
What's a trigger warning?
Actually, bruh, asking me what a trigger warning is one of my triggers, bruh. I feel traumatized, bruh. And now I'm tweeting about you, bruh. And now you're trending, bruh. And now your life is ruined, bruh. And now you're fired, bruh.
What happened to Bra?
Also, the lack of diversity here is horrifying, bruh.
Bra's gone.
Now, if we want to get some social media attention, we gotta start with a group selfie.
Excuse me, didn't Ellen do this like 3 years ago?
Hey, does Tay Diggs follow you on Twitter?
No, but Kraft Singles does.
That's what I thought. And posted. Do you know what I just did? I just made you all viral. Also, my band is playing tonight at an inconvenient time. It's 6 unshowered guys and a pale woman with a ukulele shouting hey in unison. Because that's what music is now.
Hey! Hey! What is this? They just keep saying hey.
I know, it's my favorite song.
Oh, 'cause hay is for horses.
Hey guys, you want to have a smoke break?
What? We can't smoke inside.
It's not smoking, Peter. It's vaping. Everyone's doing it, even Darth Vapor.
I find your lack of vape disturbing.
Come on, Peter, give it a shot.
What happened? All of a sudden, I feel like I know better than everyone else.
That's because anytime someone walks through a cloud of vape smoke, a millennial is born.
I think I feel it. Broad City is so funny. No, Broad City is genius. No, Broad City is everything.
There it is, grossly exaggerating the quality of a just okay TV show. Peter, you're officially a millennial.
Hey, you want to ride in the Millennial Falcon?
Ah, look at that, we found another one.
Remember, Peter, never walk anywhere when you can ride something weird instead.
What's that? Sorry, I was taking a selfie while shooting a Snapchat, while periscoping that Snapchat, while Instagramming latte art, while Shazamming The Weeknd, while streaming Master of None, while retweeting George Takei, while saying, this wins the internet, while still being hashtag so bored. Hammer? Hammer? Come on, man, don't make me look up from my phone. Oh, no, Hammer! You, call 911. You, give me your shirt to make a tourniquet. You, snap a pic. Clarendon filter. Clarendon! Hammer, stay with me, buddy.
Peter, if I die, chop my body up and serve me as street tacos.
So selfless. No, I won't let you be made into tacos.
Peter, it's too late. Listen, I've got this idea for a business, and I want you to have it. It's artisanal. Artisanal.
Artisanal what? Is it pretzels? Is it artisanal pretzels? Has that been done? Does anyone know if artisanal pretzels is a thing? It seems so obvious, yet I don't think I've ever seen them. I better do Millennial CPR. 1. Ugh, whatever. 2. Ugh, whatever. 3. Ugh, I'm gonna let my parents take care of this.
I've never been to a Millennial funeral.
Yeah, it seems in poor taste that they hired Keyboard Cat.
Assembled congregants, no worries to you.
And also to you.
Let us tweet.
Peter, why is he naked in there?
It's an environmental statement.
We've all lost a great friend, slash barista, slash DJ, slash genius bar employee, slash person with a yellow highlighter at the Best Buy exit. And now, a reading from the book of Just Jared. Death be the ultimate fail.
So listen, as a student of history, one thing that we've all learned is that even the mightiest dynasties eventually crumble. The Ming Dynasty, the Habsburg Dynasty, and now, trouble for the preeminent dynasty of our age.
In the beginning, God. Beyond all time and outside of all space, there was God. But then the evil one, the father of lies, tempted them. From this calamity down through the ages, man shakes his fist at his creator and says, I decide what's right and wrong. God is dead. I'm my own God. With the fall, death entered into human history. Now all creation is subject to its bondage to decay. Men of Athens, I can see that in every way, you're very religious. The one you worship is unknown. I will proclaim to you, the God who made the world is Lord of heaven and earth. When men begin to determine what's right and what's wrong, oh my goodness. In the absence of God, the man with the biggest stick determines your worth. Caesar demands his pinch of incense. Violence, decadence, political anarchy, moral decay. Welcome to the city of man. When he opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature saying, come and see these events, more to come. And I looked, and behold, a pale horse. And the name of him who sat on it was Death.
Now I am become Death, the destroyer of worlds.
Having made ourselves God, we turn inward, feeling lonely, ashamed, self-conscious, depressed, lost to our very selves, full of violence and carnality, betrayal, hatred, murder, war, the legacy of fallen mankind. That a human civilization's best chance of survival is to anchor itself in the God of creation. God created man and woman in his image. We are image bearers of God.